Project Connect, the voter-approved plan to overhaul public transit in Austin. And tomorrow is the last day to give feedback on the 5 proposed maps for light rail lines. All 5 scaled back from what voters approved back in 2020 with 1 line instead of 2. And they're all shorter than what was initially proposed. But there's still a lot of talk among city and state leaders that this whole plan could go back to voters this fall. Tonight, KVUE's Ford Sanders shows us how that could affect future transit plans.
It's an effort to revamp public transit and cut down on traffic in our booming city. Tuesday is the last day for neighbors to send feedback about Project Connect to the Austin Transit Partnership. Feedback is what Transit Forward,
we're an Austin-based 501c3 with a mission to engage and educate our friends and neighbors about transit,
says ATP is working hard to include in their decisions.
They have crisscrossed this city. I mean, meeting with unions, neighborhood groups, disability rights groups at lunch counters, at bus stops.
In 2020, Project Connect was set to cost about $7 billion, but more recent estimates put the cost for light rail alone closer to $10 billion.
What we're going to do is get as much input as we can on what that first phase looks like, living within their means, within the budget that is set, without asking for a tax increase.
This is the downtown station for the Red Line. The Metro Rail you see leaving behind me runs over 30 miles connecting North Austin to downtown. Well, now it's up to voters to give their feedback on one of 5 potential plans that would expand the service area. But both city and state officials say they want to see the entire project go back to Austin voters.
It's an absolute slap in the face to the taxpayers who are struggling with the cost of living in Austin and rising property taxes.
State Representative Ellen Troxclair wrote House Bill 3899, which would essentially require new votes on issues like Project Connect if their costs go up and affect property taxes.
Almost doubling the cost and before even beginning the project. It's really disrespectful to the voters to come back and assume that they would be willing to pay that when people are struggling to keep up with our property taxes to begin with.
In recent newsletters, Austin Mayor Kirk Watson wrote that he's worked with lawmakers to revamp the bill's language and to potentially allow voters to weigh in on Project Connect again this fall. Bill McCamley with Transit Forward says state lawmakers shouldn't step into this conversation because voters made their decision clear in 2020.
We voted almost 60-40 for Project Connect back in 2020. This is not a close vote.
McCamley says the pieces of Project Connect that are already in the works are just the first phase, and they'll change in the future to help accommodate growth. In Austin, I'm Ford Sanders.